Did Hearts' bottle crash like one of Steve Clarke's empties, or was it a good point in Paisley for the title challenge? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football for the Spfl review show, and we're going to find out just how good a result or just how bad a result that 2-2 draw against St Mirren was for Hearts, because I have heard it all over the last 24 hours. Apparently, that's Hearts bottled it. They've Hibsed it. The bubble has burst. One game against St Mirren where we failed to win. We failed to pick up 3 points. And apparently now that means we're duds. Apparently now that means that we're no good. That we ain't going to be challenging for nothing. Funny that, despite the team that are trailing us by 6 points, lost back-to-back games against Dundee and Hearts ourselves. Dundee, how can you lose to Stephen Presley? The Tim Reaper, Stephen Presley. You lost to Dundee. You got knocked out the Champions League by Kairat without scoring a single goal. You've been shocking. You've barely scored any goals up until this 4-0 win against Falkirk. Yet, a 2-2 draw against St Mirren, the same team that you only beat, basically in the last minute in the opening game due to a deflected goal. That means now we can't win the league and that we are shite because we drew against St Mirren. A good St Mirren team, by the way, that always make it difficult in Paisley. You can't make this shit up. Rangers fans start, getting excited after they win one game, and the Celtic fans make fun of them, saying, "Oh, you only won one game in the league. You only beat Kilmarnock, and you think that you're back. You think you're this. You think you're that." One game later, Celtic beat Falkirk 4-0. And all of a sudden, that's Hearts' bubble burst. It doesn't make any sense. Our bubble's not burst. We're still 6 points in front. We beat Celtic 4 days ago. So our bubble has not burst. Our bubble's staying fine. Our bubble's floating. Our bubble's floating 6 points in front of your bubble. So I wouldn't worry about it. Better teams than Hearts have drawn in Paisley. And it won't be the only St Mirren will take points off Celtic, Hearts and Rangers this season. Mark my words, St Mirren are a good side, and it's always difficult to beat St Mirren, so I'm not too bored. Still the only unbeaten team in the league, still by far scored the most amount of goals in the league, and honestly, let's get into this Celtic game. So it was Celtic 4, Falkirk 0, with a helping hand from Scott Bain. How bad was he? How bad was Scott Bain? Now, I'm not going to blame him for the last goal. I think the Tenetke goal was whatever. It's a good finish for Tenetke. First goal, did he get a touch on it or did it directly hit the post? It is hard to tell, but either way, whether it hits the post or whether Scott Bain got a slight touch on it and it just falls straight for Kenny, and it's a tapping. It's a tapping, so nothing impressive there. And then the second goal, what is he doing? His positioning's all wrong. It's just a header from the edge of the 6-yard box, and he's scrambling gets nowhere near it. Third goal, he literally parries it straight to Nygren. You just cannot be doing that as a goalkeeper. He parries it straight towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's a tap in for Nygren. This game might have been 4-0, but Falkirk had chances. This wasn't in my opinion, a convincing performance. I don't think Celtic blew Falkirk away. Had Scott Bain not been shite, this would not have been a 4-0 game. But anyway, Celtic fans seem to think they're going to walk the league now just because they beat Falkirk 4-0. Big wow. Hearts beat Falkirk 3-0 about a month ago, so who cares? It's Falkirk at the end of the day. Doesn't really mean anything. You could argue, though, this proves that Brendan Rodgers is shite. Someone's going to say, Celtic beat Falkirk 4-0 earlier in the season as well in the Cup, but that's when Celtic were playing a bit better. I don't think Brendan Rodgers' team would have beat Celtic 4-0 this week, last night, if he was still there. I just don't see it. But Scott Bain didn't have his greatest game. Never rated Scott Bain, to be honest, but the third goal especially is unforgivable. We can argue about the first goal and we can question his positioning for the second, but the third goal, you simply cannot do that as a goalkeeper. Embarrassing, where he just parries it straight to Nygren, who's running in and gets a tap in. You can't be doing that. Anyway, a 4-0 win for Celtic to close the gap. Good for them, but this doesn't mean they've wrapped up the title. Because this can happen. Any good team in the league can beat the newly promoted team at home by a decent margin, and anybody can draw in Paisley, so it's not the end of the world. I'm not fearing it. The bottle's certainly not burst, and we'll see what's happening come the end of November. We'll see how many points we are in front come the end of November, but I'm not going to sit here and cry over drawing with St Mirren. Doesn't make any sense. Right, Hibs versus Rangers. Big Stevie Cool said this was a great performance for Rangers, and it looks like they're back. I didn't see that. I thought it was a pretty even game. I think Hibs, had they got the draw, I think they would have deserved it. Kalidje had a chance. I think it was like a 0.9 expected goal. And I know that doesn't really mean anything. People don't like that. But what it means is he should have put it in the back of the net. That's what it means. And then Jamie McGrath missed a penalty for the second year in a row against Jack Butler. I say missed it. It was saved, but same shit. I think that Hibs probably should have got a draw here. Rangers were alright. I mean, it was a decent goal, decent strike from Danilo, but I don't think they were amazing by any means. Certainly didn't blow me away, and I think Hibs had enough chances to, or I think Hibs did enough to deserve a draw, but at the end of the day, if you don't put the ball in the back of the net, you get what you deserve, and Hibs got nothing, so 1-0 Rangers. And still they remain 5 points behind Celtic, so for as bad as Rangers have been, they're only 5 points behind Celtic, the team that is apparently going to walk their way to the league now just because they beat Falkirk. Right, Aberdeen 1, Kilmarnock 0. Stuart Armstrong, he's done nothing all season. He gets a goal here. Very fortunate though, it's just a pass played into the box. One of the Kilmarnock defenders attempts to get like a block or an interception on it. The ball just bounces up into the air and falls into the path of Stuart Armstrong, who puts it home into the corner of the goal. Very fortunate for Armstrong here, but I mean, it is what it is. It's a decent finish. It was a decent finish, but lucky to get the opportunity. Kilmarnock had a lot of chances. Probably should have equalised, but Aberdeen, hang on. Not the greatest performance, but right now, they don't need great performances. They just need wins. They just need results, because Jimmy Teelan's in a lot of trouble. And that is now 3 wins out of the last 4 league games. So, things look like they're getting better for Aberdeen, but they're still not playing great. And they didn't deserve to win this game. But again, if you don't score, then you get what you deserve. And that's nothing at the end of the day. But I thought they were very fortunate to hold on. Kilmarnock must be thinking, how the fuck did they lose that game? And like I said, the goal for Armstrong was a bit fortunate. Well, it was very fortunate. It's a decent finish, but for him to get that opportunity, for the bounce and the ball just to land into his path. Although you could argue that he kept that run going or whatnot, and he got into that position. But I did think it was a fortunate goal for Aberdeen. But either way, Motherwell 2, Dundee United 0. So we've seen quite a few good goals this season, and I thought both of these goals were good. Not saying that they're going to be goal of the season contenders, but I thought they were 2 good goals. Manwanise getting in between both Dundee United defenders for the opening, then he just slides in to tap it home. It was a good goal, but United probably should have defended it better. And then Elliot Watt with a decent strike from probably about 22 yards just outside the D of the box, and he just puts it into the left hand corner. Keeper tried to get it, but I think the keeper may have been, because he hits the shot directly in front of the defender, and obviously the defender's like at centre of the goal, so keeper's vision may have been slightly blocked here, but it was still a good strike, and it was a good goal, and this got Motherwell the 2-0 win. Dundee United did hit the post in the game, and they had some chances as well, but I think Motherwell deserved this result, and it's good to see Motherwell get a win, because they have played some really good football this season, and it's nice to see that be rewarded. I like the fact that the team that's playing good football has now won a few games and they're moving up the league table, because you want to see that rewarded. When you see a team playing well, you want them to do well, because if a team's playing really good football and trying to be positive, but they're not getting the results, who knows? Maybe they'll change things up. Maybe they'll stop playing good football. Maybe they'll stop trying to be positive. So, for the good of Scottish football, I think if you see a team that is trying to play good football and play good stuff and be positive in games and be the way Motherwell are being, then you want them to be rewarded for that, so that hopefully they can continue doing that, because I think with teams playing the way Motherwell do, it's going to make the game better, it's going to make Scottish football a better watch. So I was happy to see Motherwell win this game, and I hope they have a good season. I hope they finish top 6, and I hope they can make a push for Europe. Whether they will or not, I'm not too sure. I think that I'm not sure how many places actually get European football next season. I know we've dropped so far down the coefficient. Part of me thinks it's only 4 teams. And if that is the case, I can't see the top 4 being anything other than the 2 Edinburgh clubs and the 2 Glasgow clubs. In my opinion, that's going to be the top 4 nailed in, but I could be wrong. But I do believe it's either next season or the season after where our qualification, our teams that get the qualification places is going to go down from 5 to 4. I just don't know whether it's for next season or the year after that. But either way, I think Motherwell will have a good chance of top 6. I think it will be. I think St Mirren will be in there. I think Motherwell's got an opportunity. Dundee United as well. I think 2 of those 3 teams will make up the top 6. I think it's between Motherwell, Dundee United, and St Mirren. I think 2 of those 3 will be in the top 6, but we'll see. Still a long way to go. Right, and final game: St Mirren 2, Hearts 2. So the Daniel Nalundu goal. That's a really good goal. Just a ball launched up for the goalkeeper, and he chests it, and then does his overhead kick and puts it into the back of the net. Really good finish for Nalundu, and it was pretty interesting to see a goalkeeper get an assist, because you don't often see that. Lawrence Shankland then equalised 6 minutes later. Bit fortunate, I think it was Bacchus with a heavy touch. Ball got away from him. Shankland has an opportunity to strike it for about 8 yards out in the box. You don't want to give him that opportunity, and he took it. So, I mean, it's a good finish, but a bit fortunate to get that opportunity. Miguel Freckleton then made it 2-1 in the second half, and then he made it 3-1, and it got ruled out. Now, I'm not sure why this was ruled out. I've watched it multiple times. Now, there was someone in an offside position, but he doesn't even go for the ball, so therefore he's not interfering with play. Now, apparently they gave it against O'Hara because he was standing in an offside position, and apparently he tugged Lawrence Shankland as the ball got launched into the box. I didn't see it. I mean, he's got his hand on him, but holy fuck, that's not a foul. So I feel like St Mirren have been hard done by here. Like last night in the review, I couldn't really speak too much on it because I hadn't seen it. And I kind of just assumed that the referee would get the correct decision because you like to think that they would, but having actually watched it, I think this was the wrong call. And I think St Mirren, I think they've been robbed here of a goal. Unless there's another reason why it's not been given. But if the reason it's been ruled out is for O'Hara standing in an offside position when he doesn't even go for the ball, then that's wrong. People will say, well, he tugged Shankland. That's not enough, man. Come on. Not every contact in football's a foul, and people need to remember this. I'm sick of it every time there's a bit of contact. Oh, but look, he touched him. He did this. He had his hands on him. He tugged his shirt. Who gives a fuck, alright? Not every bit of contact in football should be a foul. Like, not every tug of the shirt, in my opinion, in the box should be a penalty. It's only if there's enough of a tug, if there's enough of a pull to prevent someone from getting the ball or to bring someone down to the ground. I mean, just like not every touch, if you make a bit of contact with someone in the box and they go down, it shouldn't always be a penalty. It should only be if there's enough physical contact there to actually send someone to the floor. And this wasn't enough to prevent Shankland from defending this set piece. So I think this goal should have stood. And I think if St Mirren went 3-1 up, they probably would have won the game. So I think Hearts have been fortunate here, very fortunate in fact. Then Claudio Braga gets a bit of fortune to get the rebound from Kizaridis' shot, but it was a great shot for Kizaridis. Kizaridis really lively, really dangerous, good shot for him. I think then Claudio Braga just got the rebound. It was, I mean, I guess a decent finish, but the Hearts have scored some really good goals this season, but both the Shankland and Braga goals here, you know, they're kind of almost, I don't want to say tap-ins, but, you know, they were pretty simple finishes. Right, and then Hearts had a chance late on. I say a chance, they actually scored, but the goal was given offside. No complaints here. It was offside. By the way, the defender, I think, for the second goal, the Miguel Freckleton goal, I thought was really poor. You'd Kingsley with the initial clearance header where he just didn't clear it. He put it into a dangerous zone, and then Stuart Finlay literally headed it straight to Freckleton. So I thought the defending for the second St Mirren goal as well was really poor from Hearts, and that's not something I've said a lot this season because defensively Hearts have been good. So yeah, listen, I thought it was a pretty good game of football, and I think that based on the performances and based on the play, I think a draw is a fair result, but I do believe that St Mirren should have had that third goal, so therefore I feel like St Mirren have been really hard done by because that goal should stand. But it is what it is. It hasn't stood, and Hearts have been lucky here. They get a point instead of no points, which I think is crucial. Now, people are saying that this point means that Hearts have bottled it. Even if Hearts lost this game, it doesn't mean you bottled it. It's one game, and a 38-game league is never decided on one match. However, I do think this result could be massive in a positive way for Hearts. I think the difference between drawing and losing could be huge, because had Hearts lost this 3-1, you don't know how that's going to affect momentum, but managing to come back and get the draw, it does mean that you keep your unbeaten start to the season, and you do pick up a point when you are coming from behind on 2 occasions. So I think momentum-wise, drawing this game instead of losing it is pretty big. Even though it's only 1 point that you're picking up, I just think sometimes we see a first defeat. Sometimes we see a team get a first defeat inflicted on them, and they do go off the rails. So it's interesting to. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I personally think Hearts will go on, and I believe that they will win their next 2 games going into the international break against Dundee and Dundee United. At least I'm hoping they will. As for St Mirren, they'd lost 3 in a row going into this. They really needed a win, or at least a result. They got a result, but it wasn't the victory they were hoping for, and I think they probably deserved a victory because that third goal should have stood. And I think if they went 3-1 up, they probably would have had enough to see out the game. But that's my opinion. I think St Mirren were hard done by, but who knows? Can't say for sure. But I think 3-1 up with about half an hour to go, that would have put St Mirren in a really strong position. So we'll never know what would have happened, but I think St Mirren were robbed a little bit in that game for sure. Because for what it looked like to me it was a fine goal. I personally wouldn't have disallowed it. Right, here is the league table then. So everyone has now played 10 games, which is good because I don't really like looking at league table when some teams have played 10, some have played 9, some have played 8, whatnot. So everyone is on the same amount of games played now, but not everyone's on the same amount of points because Hearts sit on 26, still 6 points in front of Celtic. And I just don't understand why a draw from Hearts means we've bottled it. I don't understand why that means our bubble has burst when we've still won more games than Celtic, we've scored more goals than Celtic, we have more points than Celtic. So, you know, it is one game. It is one fucking game. We'll see what happens going forward. But we ain't going to do what Aberdeen did last season, that is for sure. So you got Celtic on 20 points, 6 behind. Then you got Rangers on 15 points. They closed the gap to Hearts to 11. Hibernian on 14. You got Motherwell on 14. That's what I like to see. Motherwell now into the top 6. Dundee United on 13. You've got Falkirk on 12. Kilmarnock on 10. St Mirren on 10. Aberdeen on 10. Dundee on 9. And already, I'm beginning to feel like Livingston could be getting cut adrift. They've got the least amount of wins in the league. They're the only team to have won only 1 game. They have conceded the most amount of goals. They've got the worst goal difference, and then obviously they've got the lowest amount of points. And you just feel like Livingston, sooner or later, they need a result, or they could be in trouble. But again, league's very close. Like, you've got 3 teams on 10 points, with Dundee only a point behind them. I mean, then you've got, look at Rangers. I mean, Rangers down to Falkirk, all separated by 1 win just. So it's very, very close. And I think that we will begin to see things, obviously, in teams. I think we'll see points get wider. I think we'll see teams drift away over the next few games. potentially heading into the international break. Then you come back and you've got December, you've got a shitload of games being played in December. And then the league table really does begin to open up. But as for right now, it's still pretty close-knit. Not a lot in it. Between Rangers and Dundee, between 3rd and 11, only 6 points, which is not a lot. It's 2 wins, so it is very close. But Hearts have got a 6-point gap at the top, looking good. And Livingston, 3 points behind Dundee. We'll see what happens, but I am beginning to fear for Livy, especially the fact Aberdeen have now won 3 at the last 4. Livy could find themselves in danger. But I think we'll have a quick look here at the fixtures for the next few. Let's have a look at the fixtures heading into the international break. So we've got Falkirk versus Kilmarnock, Hearts versus Dundee, Livy versus Hibs. I do believe that Hearts have to win this game at Tynecastle and try and get back to winning ways. It is crucial that Hearts win this match. Then, Falkirk have got Livy on Saturday, in the 8th of November. So Livingston's next 2 games, I think, are crucial. A lot of people expect them to probably lose to Hibs, and I think they will lose to Hibs, but I think Livy will need to get a result against Falkirk, and I believe they beat Falkirk in every game last season in the Championship, and they beat them in their first game in the Premiership this season, so I think Livy can do it, but I think they're going to need to do it. They can't. If Livingston lose both of these games, they could find themselves in a bit of trouble for sure. On the Sunday, so this is the last game for the last weekend for the international break. The only good thing I would say about Livy is that Dundee's next 2 fixtures are against Hibs and Rangers. Against Hearts and Rangers. So Dundee, I expect to pick up no points in those games. So that does give Livy, if Livy can beat Falkirk, they'll probably be level on points with Dundee, so that gives them a chance. You got Celtic taking on Kilmarnock, Hearts against Dundee United. So some good games here as we head into the international break. But we'll see what happens, guys. Not going to make any early predictions, but we will say the bottle's not burst. I know that much for a fact. But if Hearts pick up less than 6 points in the next 2 games, or even less than 4 points, then who knows? Maybe the bottle will be burst. Maybe the bubble will be crashing down to earth. But for now, I think things are alright. I'm not worried about it. We'll see what happens. It's a long way to go. It's a long season. 1 draw against St Mirren isn't going to define the entire league campaign. Anyway, guys, that's it. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.